Welcome, folks. For those of you that I don't know, and many of you I do, I'm happy to see some smiling faces tonight. But for those of you that I don't know, I'm Susie Tierney, and I'm the director of Just Faith Ministries. And joining me is a friend to all of you and to me as well. Our founder, Jack Jezreel, is on the phone on the Zoom. I always want to say phone, but it's on the Zoom meeting with us tonight, and Jack is prepared to offer an opening prayer for us to get us started. So with that, Jack.
Thanks, Susie, and welcome everybody. Susie invited me to offer a prayer tonight, so I composed this just for our meeting this evening. Let us pray. The sun rises on a world fragile and now frail, and God frets. As always, the only balm is compassion unto action. So we plant seeds, not only of crops and trees, but seeds of promise that are our children. Either they embrace each other and the planet, or we perish, as it has always been. So we tend the young and water them from the wells of our hope and affection. We invite their growth with meaning, purpose, and conviction. We pray, bet on, and share stories of holy memories and the hope of pollination. We anticipate their flowering in colors we can't predict or perhaps have never seen before. We pray they forgive us our ignorance and or meanness, the wounds of which are still open. We hope outrageously that something we've learned with struggle comes to them more easily. We hold them dear, not because they just might save us, but because they're so beautiful, so wondrous, so miraculous. Everything we hope for is in their beating hearts. Amen.
Amen. Lovely, Jack. Thank you so much. Well, folks, again, welcome. Let me give you just a little sense of where we're going to go tonight and how it's going to look, and then we'll get off and running. Just a couple of disclaimers. First of all, in this world of evening Zoom meetings from home, there's a strong possibility that at some point my son or daughter will burst into the office with a very important question like, where can I have a bedtime snack, or something that just can't wait. and it's possible also that you might hear my dogs in the background. So those two disclaimers. With that, what I'm going to do is just provide an overview of this Youth for Justice. I'm going to start with why this program and how it even came about. And then I'm going to talk about the sessions themselves, some nuances that you're free to do in your areas or in your groups, and then open it up for questions. So you can ask me any questions you want. So with that, let me just share sort of the framework for this particular program. I'm actually a former youth minister myself. I spent over 15 years in youth ministry, but for the last 20 years or so, I felt like my work and role has really been with adult audiences, and so I did one of those things that you never do and you never say out loud, which is, I'm not going to do anything with youth anymore. I'm going to go this area. And then the Spirit moves where the Spirit moves, and you end up doing something that you hadn't planned on doing. So with that, I really had not planned on doing a youth program for Just Faith Ministries at all. Wasn't on our work plan, wasn't on our radar, wasn't in strategic plan. It wasn't anything we had planned on doing. But I'm a former Catholic myself. I've been in the Episcopal Church for a number of years now. In my Episcopal Church, the priest who is a youth minister, the associate priest said, Susie, you're a former youth ministry. Do you have any program recommendations for some sort of social justice or social action or social mission program that I could use with youth? And I said, well, I remember some programs that used to be available. There was one that was developed. It was geared more towards junior high. Let me see if I can find it. And the problem was that I came home and I searched and I searched and I searched. And not only could I not find the program that had formerly been available, but I couldn't find anything. I couldn't find anything on youth programs related to social mission or social justice. And so that was a little bit disparaging to me. I thought, wow, there's this big hole. And maybe you all know of programs, but not exactly what I was looking for in the way of a substantial youth program that really drilled into some social justice issues. That's not fair. That was one of it. Yes, exactly. Somebody put that in the chat. But I couldn't find it. So anyway, but I found myself saying to the priest and youth minister, well, why don't I just drum something up for you? What do you want to learn about? I'll just put together an outline. Surely I can pull together some resources. And then one outline led to another and another, and so I ended up really starting to develop this program for my church. And so I was feeding her sessions on different topics, and the youth were loving it. And so I was making more, and they were loving it. And at some point I said, these need to be shared. So I gave the program to Just Faith Ministries, and here we are. So who would have thought? Who would have thought? It wasn't on anybody's radar. But I'm thrilled that we did it. And I'm thrilled that these sessions are available. So let me talk a little bit about the program itself. Right now, there are 17 topics available. And that doesn't mean distinct topic. Like there are 4 different topics on racial justice, if that makes sense. But there are 17 different selections that you could make right now. Each of those topics, if you will, include 2 sessions. So there's 2 90-minute sessions for each topic. And I'm going to share my screen here just for those of you that, let me get on our website. I was on our website. And for those of you that haven't had a chance to actually go to the website, I am going to just show you the list of the topics that are currently available. But I also want to show you another prompt on here as well. So give me a thumbs up. Abby, give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen here. All right, great. So here's the topics that are available. There's 2 sessions on Black history, 2 on Easter, 2 on the environment, fair trade, global poverty, homelessness, human trafficking, hunger, immigration, MLK, peace, poverty, racial justice, racism, refugees, and simplicity. Here, right underneath those is a free download. If you haven't downloaded it yet, you can actually download one of the sessions. I did one on kindness during COVID. That one's available for you to look at so you can see the format. But down here, don't see a topic that you really want and have a topic of interest, let me know. And we might be able to put something together. It may show up at some point. So I can't make any promises, on timing, but if we get more than one request for a particular topic, we're certainly open to adding to this list. So I want to say a few things about the session outlines themselves. say, for example, that first topic on Black history, the 2 sessions, one is what I call group-centric. So it's meant to be done with your whole youth group, in your youth meeting on Zoom, or in your youth room if you're not distancing, and it's meant to be done with the members of your group. The second session is meant to be more immersive. And by immersive, I mean it's either, there's either a recommendation for a guest speaker, a immersion experience where your whole group goes to an organization or group or place that's relevant to the topic, or a follow-up activity from the first session. But there's all sorts of recommendations about, in that second session, about who you might look to be a guest speaker in your local community and those kinds of things. Very similar to some of the tips we give in our Just Faith program, for those of you that are familiar with our other programs. In each session, let me say, in the first session, that is more group-centric, and it's really formation. The second one is more immersive. The first one is more formational. The typical and the standard framework that I used was this. There's an opening prayer, and every single opening prayer has a scripture verse and a song. And they frame the session. And the songs, there might be a few religious songs, but most of them are contemporary artists who have written music on modern day themes. For those of you that are familiar with Alicia Keys has a phenomenal message in 90% of her music. I mean, it's just fantastic. And so several sessions have a Alicia Keys song. Colby Calais, Natasha Bedingfield, John Legend. So those are some of the music that I incorporated. As I was thinking about putting this together, I was thinking about what would interest the youth in a group if I was doing youth ministry these days, and it was modern contemporary music. So lots of there's one session where we use a Beyonce song, and a beautiful Beyonce song. So anyway, every opening prayer has that piece of music, and it has a scripture verse that frames the session. And then it's followed by what I call a making it personal video or discussion. And so there's videos written through this whole program. And in this making it personal video and discussion, the videos are TED Talks. They feature youth whenever possible. For example, in the session on homelessness, the video focuses on a youth telling her story of being a homeless youth. So whenever possible, when there was a really good message that was coming, a personal story, I tried in this making it personal session to make it more of somebody's story. If there was a youth centric or a youth that was presenting on that topic, I tried to use that. And then there's discussion questions that really ask, related to that video, what surprised you in this person's story? Has that experience happened to you? Do you know anybody that's had that experience? So just some general personalizing of the session topic. And then the next thing is, in most sessions, there's what I call making it personal activity. It could be one of anything. It could be a quiet reflection where there's a handout that you give, and youth have time to fill out that handout. It could be interactive. There are several interactive activities where you actually go to websites and you have this interactive experience. In the human trafficking session, to give you an example, in the session on human trafficking, there's an interactive map where you can identify your state, and it gives you the number of human trafficking cases in your state. And so you can really drill down and present the issue in a way that's more tangible for youth than this global issue of human trafficking. Same thing in the hunger session. There's an interactive map, and you can drill it down to your county. And you can do all that online. There's a simulation type Jeopardy game in either the refugee or immigrant program. So again, it's really meant to be an activity that's really youth-centric and hopefully is engaging. And then so that's really the first part, is this making it personal, this video, this personal relationship with this issue. Do I know anybody? Has it affected me? That kind of thing. And then there's changing the world. So the second part of the 90 minutes is a changing the world video and discussion and a changing the world activity. The changing the world, again, is nearly often, if not the majority of times, it's featuring a story of a youth doing something in their community that is making a difference. So this changing the world activity, again, let me give you an example. Again, in the hunger program, there's a part of the changing the world activity is a food rescue program. You know, we fill a stadium full of food that we throw away here in the U.S. every day. It's actually a horrifying statistic. But there's some, in the particular session and in the activity, it talks about, do you have a food rescue program in your church on Sunday morning? Do you have one in your school? So that, you know, food isn't being thrown away at your school. And can you and your group start a food rescue program? Does that interest you? So there's a lot that is meant to empower youth to do these things, to get out there and start doing whatever is theirs to do to make a difference. And then again, at the end, there's a closing prayer, and that closing prayer incorporates a contemporary song, but it's different than the song that's in the opening prayer. So there's two songs in every session. Then when you get to the immersive session, I use the same opening and closing prayer just to keep some consistency between the two sessions. Some youth groups only meet every 2 weeks or so. And so I used some of the same language in the prayers in the second session, just simply to provide some layer of consistency. And then again, that second session really walks through the format for inviting a guest speaker into your Zoom meeting or your youth room, where you would look to find those guest speakers on whatever topic it is, or you know, where you would go and have an immersive experience. A couple of other things that I'll share, and then I'll just open it up for questions. I know I'm going to get this question. Is there a Catholic version and an ecumenical version? The answer is there's one version. It's ecumenical. It's designed with Christian youth in mind. However, I will tell you that in a couple of sessions, if there was a really good message that I happened on that was from the Catholic tradition, and a really good message that was from, you know, maybe a Protestant denomination or an Anglican, an Episcopal church, that I give options. So there's at least 3 sessions when I was going back through the program tonight and looking at some of those sessions. There's at least 3 sessions where there's a Catholic video that you could, a Catholic-centric video that you could use, or a more ecumenically centric video. I won't say that that's true of every session, but certainly. Certainly there's nothing in the program that would be inconsistent with Catholic social teaching. It's just not going to be explicit in some sessions. So if you want explicit, if you represent a Catholic church and you want it to be explicit, you know, you might want to have switch something out then, in terms of a video or a prayer. And if you want help finding something, I can certainly help you with that. So that's kind of the sense of the, you know, ecumenical versus Catholic. The age of the program, again, when I wrote this, I had high school students in mind, but I also had a lot of churches, denominations do confirmation in 7th and 8th grade. I think it would work for confirmation groups. The only caution I would have with junior high is it's going to need to be a little bit more mature junior high. I would love for those of you that have junior hires, 7th and 8th grade, to give me some feedback if you use this program, and let me know how it works. I think with mature 7th and 8th graders, confirmation students, you're going to get away with it. But I think there has to be some level of maturity there. Timing, as I said, the sessions are 90 minutes long. But for every youth group that I've ever encountered, there's a different way of doing it. Some youth groups meet twice a month for 2 hours. Some youth groups meet every week for 1 hour. Some youth groups meet once a month for 2 hours. I mean, so for every church, there's a different way of doing youth ministry. What I would say is there's some flexibility, especially with that first session of the topic. It's a 90-minute session, so could you break it up and do the making it personal piece one week and then doing the changing the world piece the next week? Sure. You won't be able to break up the immersive session, right? But you could probably break that content of 90 minutes into two 45-minute sessions, and then have some other activities with your group if you only meet for an hour. Would I recommend doing all 90 minutes at once? Sure. You know, that's the way it was written, and there's some logic to that there's that cohesion right in that session, that they go from the personal to the social. But if there's a week in between that, you know, I think that will still work as well. So you know, ultimately at the end of the day, you know, I from all my years in youth ministry, there was a framework for a program, and there was what worked for us. And so I would often nuance it. So just know that, you know, while there is some integrity with how it is written, you know, at least in the timing of it, you have some flexibility to be able to do what works for you. Is there an order? None. None. And we also, you know, one of the things that the staff and I talked about when I handed this program over was, it may not look like it's a program that's been put together, that you do, you know, this session and then this session and then this session. But again, it's to allow the flexibility of youth ministers to say, this is what we're going to study over the next 6 months, and to pick the issues that you want to, you know, to go over and make your own program. Because I don't pretend, again, to know where all of your youth groups are at. So this is designed so that you can literally create your own program by picking the topics. Some churches have a year-long focus on an issue, and so maybe you want to delve, you know, into those issues. Other churches, you know, that is the case, but your youth group may have a particular interest in, you know, these 5 issues, and maybe not so much these 5 issues. It really is up to you when you do them, and how you do them, and in what order. Again, there's 4 topics on racial justice. But there's no order. You can do those 4 topics in any order. They don't build on each other. Cost. Each 2-session topic is $40. But if you buy 3 topics, it's 100. 6 topics, 175. 12 topics, 300. So essentially, you get 6 sessions for $100, 12 sessions for $175, and 24 sessions for $300. We did some research about pricing and things, and that seemed to be, about right where, there are some youth ministry programs that are incredibly expensive. But this one, we tried to make it affordable, but still pay our light bill. So with that, there's 2 other things that I want to share, and then we'll open it up for questions. Virtual. In this world of virtual, somebody asked me early on, is there any reason why you wouldn't? Let me just answer this question real quick here. That's a price for your group. Basically, you buy that topic, that 2-session topic, and it is yours for 12 months. So if you want to do it with two different groups, or 2 different groups of students, or 3 different groups of students, you have that flexibility. It's yours to use for 12 months. And that's a one-time fee for your group. So anyway, what I was going to say is virtual. There's not a lot really that can't be done virtually. I would definitely learn the nuances of showing a video in Zoom because there's so many of them. But all of the videos are online for free, and there's a direct link embedded in the program's outlines. So you can pull them up right from the program. All the songs, there's a direct link to the song, and you can pull it up right from the program outline. So the only thing that you might have to nuance a little bit is if there's a handout, it's incorporated with the session outline. So what you might have to do is just scan that one handout and then send it out to the youth so that they can print it out and have it on their end. If you're doing some exercise where they need something on their end, and they can pull it up in their Facebook page or email or however you distribute your materials to youth. So it's very virtually friendly, I would say, and there's not a lot of adapting that you're going to have to do. The last thing that I want to share is the program goals, and these are listed on the website so that youth can explore how to live out our gospel call to care for others, especially those who are in poverty or those communities that are marginalized or treated unjustly. So that's really a primary focus. To cultivate spiritual and emotional wellness, what is our faith calling us to do, and how do we do it, and how do we do it well, and how do we do it within our own gifts and skills. I wouldn't use the word discernment with youth, but in a lot of sessions in that Changing the World, there's a lot of conversation that for those of you who are adults will sound a lot like a discernment. Is this what we're being called to do? And if so, how are we being called to do it? Of course, it builds relationships amongst your peers and the adult mentors. We hope it will help develop leadership skills. There could be an opportunity in here for folks to determine, vocation. I mean, maybe one of the session topics or outlines will nudge a youth to engage and decide that they're going to engage in the issue by, moving into a vocation that is related to an issue. But the last bullet, you can read those goals on the website, but the last bullet that I put on my paper is action, action, action. So some of you on the Zoom meeting know me, and if you know anything about me, you know that at the end of the day, I'm disappointed if there's not some sort of action piece, that it's really not meant to be a stagnant program. In fact, all of Just Faith Ministries programs, at the end of the day, if somebody said to me, that was a really great experience, and they stopped there, I would be disappointed. I would be wholeheartedly disappointed, because we want the and. We want the and because of that experience, I was so moved that I'm doing this now, or I'm doing that now. And so there's a real, what I hope is an inspiration to youth, that you can do these things. Like, there are youth all over the world changing things. And so you have the gifts and the talents to be able to do whatever you want. And B, that we're called to do something, and C, that you have a place in this. So we want people to be engaged. A story I will tell you, and my only witness to date, because this program has only been used in my parish and one other place that I know of really piloted it for us. But the one story that I will share with you out of the pilot group is that this particular youth group, because of the racial unrest right now, they ordered all 4 of the programs focused on racial justice. And at the end of those 4 programs, their youth minister, a pastor in their church, sent me a copy of a letter that a young woman, a junior in the group, had written to the governor of California saying, we need to have racial justice and we need to have it now. And she mentioned her Just Faith experience in that letter. So I was absolutely, just tickled to hear that, because out of that experience, she felt compelled to write a letter to the governor of the state, and say, we need to work on racial justice. So, I know that's probably not going to be the story for all of your youth, but at the end of the day, that's certainly a hope, is that it will spark the imagination of the youth in your group, and that they will feel moved to do something to make the world a little bit better. Questions? Feel free to unmute yourself, or you can put questions in the chat and I'll keep up with them. Yeah, could you use this for young adults? You could. The only thing is I don't know how a college age student would respond to a video from the perspective of a high school student, So, you'd have to preview the session beforehand, but there are some TED Talks that are done by adults that young adult college age students would love, I'm sure.
Could you recommend one that might be good for parents to see as a way to see what their students might be learning, or what some parents are a little nervous about motivating young people to do more on their own?
They all have a similar framework. So, I really think any of them would, any of them. They all have the action component, but it's very, sort of youth-centric action, and localized, like.
Could you recommend one, or are they all appropriate to do for students to do one-to-ones afterwards? Meaning, if they would be, part of their action would be to talk to someone in the community, share their passion, and listen to the passion of that person, but then to enlist their support.
Let let me look through the sessions again and see. Maurice, you've done a program of ours before, haven't you?
I've done the surface of a program, so I can't say. I'm just excited to look forward and looking forward to having my youth take this on. Okay.
I was just wondering if I had you in. Well, let me just do this. I'm just going to pull up a session. I'm going to pull up an outline here. And while I'm pulling it up, feel free, anybody else that wants to take themselves off of mute and ask something else.
Susie, I'll just that Mr. Harper Maurice is our wonderful youth minister lead at St. Columba. So this is Meg. So I'm just delighted he's here. And, you know, he had my same question about the parent involvement too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. I have a question, and maybe, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Maybe I missed it, but I just want to make sure I understand. So we like register for the program for our church, and then do we lead our youth group through the whole thing, or does somebody else lead them through it? I think I just missed that.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I did not share that, and I'm pulling up a document here, so I couldn't see who asked that. But all of Just Faith Ministries programs, we provide the outline, and then you take it and facilitate it for your group. So we don't facilitate from the national office, but with all our programs, you know, I like to say that we you don't have to make anything up. We provide the outline from opening prayer to closing prayer, and
Susie, this is Teresa. It might tag off of Maurice a little bit. Are any of the topics organizing centric? You know, I think when we start talking about one-to-ones and moving youth to be kind of in that vein of, you know, working in collaboration on issues together. So is any of the subject matter that? Because it seems like that might be the kind of program that he might be talking about, which I wondered if that was one of the subjects.
Yeah. And it's organizing in the sense of there's really two underlying questions in every session. One is what can you do personally, or how are you going to respond to this issue personally in your personal life? But then also, can your youth group do something together? Or can you organize something as your youth group? Can you organize it for your larger church? Or your local community. So there's lots of that in it, yeah. And my computer's being boogery tonight, so it's not letting me pull up.
And I guess just to dig just a little deeper, is part of that would be going deeper into like the local neighborhood surrounding you, and maybe getting into dialogue with the empowerment of working together with people that are most affected, who might then almost lead a local campaign together. I just wondered if any of the subjects, you know, took that on, and it may be that it's implied in all of them, but that might have been where Maurice was going with some of it. I don't know, but as a person who's been in organizing for a long time, I see him thumbs up and nodding. Just wondered, Susie, if any of the subject matter kind of was giving attention to that specific type of organizing.
Yeah, I mean, it does. It may not be written it specifically like that, Teresa, but it's definitely there. I'm trying to pull up a couple sessions so I can just share my screen, and you can see some of the action-centric pieces. Like I said, my computer's being...
And Susie, I neglected to say kudos to you for this, because even if it doesn't, it's something that we could, you know, implement within the current structure. And the fact that you've given us the framework, I feel like is just miraculous. So this isn't to say that, you know, what we have isn't great. I just didn't know if that was already embedded, or it might be something we could think of kind of adding to the degree that parents are comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing too is, this is, I'm always open to feedback, and if there needs to be a little nuancing, to go with any of these, please. I'm very interested in hearing people's feedback. Let me see.
Susie, can you take another question?
Yes, sure.
Brian from Holy Family in Virginia Beach. When I'm looking through the topics, there seem to be 3 topics: the Easter, peace, and simplicity, that don't seem as topical. They seem like they're bigger, broader concepts. Could you explain those 3?
Sure. The Easter one was, and again, it's a great question, because I had not intended to write this program in the way that it was written. Originally, what I was doing for my particular church was writing it for a specific time of year. And so she was coming up on Easter and said, do you have anything social justice-y related to Easter? And I said, well, let me see if I can do something. And so, that's why there's a couple of them that are more about the time of year that it would be appropriate to do something, rather than being a specific topic. But even that Easter one, it has the social justice bent to it. I'm still trying. My computer is still not cooperating here. But other questions?
The peace topic and the simplicity topic ones, are those also very just broad topics? I mean, non-topical, just broad concepts. If it seems to me like the peace and the simplicity ones would be a good one to start with. It would give you a big picture and then go into the other ones. I don't know if that's the case or not.
Yeah. Yeah. So and let me just pull my sheet up here. Rather than I'm trying to pull up I'm working off of a remote drive, and there's a connection that's not happening right now with my computer. So the simplicity one really focuses on consumeristic habits. So it's really geared towards this our culture that it's cultivating an attitude of gratitude and contentment, and trying to get away from the consumeristic culture that says you need more and more and more things. So that's what that simplicity one is about. So it's more general to, it's not necessarily like environmental simplicity. That one focuses primarily on consumeristic, just that our cultural mindset, the saying, he or she with the most toys wins, I'm in at the end of life, and trying to get away from that mentality. The one on peace, there's some, the first part of that, I believe when I was writing it, it was about personal forgiveness, or like who personal, cultivating peace in my personal life, like who around me, am I not in right relationship with, and how do I get in right relationship with them? Because that's where peace starts ultimately. But then it also, leads to our call to be peacemakers. But there's a definite focus on, how do we be peacemakers ourselves, and how do we cultivate how do we lean into forgiveness of others? So let me scroll. I'm gonna scroll through some of this things that I've gotten here in the chat so that I can answer some questions here real quick. If a youth misses the first session, will they be able to jump in the second session, or would we want to discourage that? I would say that I would recommend to youth to do the first one, because it's the formational piece that will make the immersive piece make more sense. That said, if you have an immersion experience or a guest speaker lined up who can talk about an issue, or who have people who are directly affected by an issue who can speak about the issue, then I would not prohibit youth from being a part of that. I have it's not problematic from my standpoint. I just wonder if the youth themselves would feel that they are missing something if they weren't part of the first session. Yes, the immersion experience includes a debriefing. There's debriefing time after every immersive experience or guest speaker. The bulk of that session is the speaker or the immersion, and then debrief immediately after. Yeah, that's really the primary content of that session. Are the session 2 weeks, or do you still have are all the sessions 2 weeks, or do you still have a longer one? All of those topics that are listed, there's 2 sessions with each one. I don't have like 4 sessions with any of the topics right now, or 6 sessions with one particular topic. We have a base that we might be able to build on in the future, but yeah. But each of those topics only has 2 sessions at this point.
Susie, Teresa again, could the racism topics be turned into one long kind of focus if you do one of those topics? I know you said they don't build on each other, but could it turn into like you said it for an 8-week experience? Sure.
That's what the person in California did, was take those 8 sessions, those 4 topics with 8 sessions, and made that her summer program.
And they can be done in any order. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. There's some issues that are more cohesive with each other. In other words, you could do simplicity and the one on environmental care together, and make a longer program. You could do the one on refugees and immigrants together, and have a program on migration. You could do the one on hunger, local poverty, and global poverty all together, and have a 6-week program. So there are some that can be clustered. What happens if you lose the file? Then you just never get it back. No. just reach out to us. I mean, if you want to use it again and it's within that 12-month period, you just reach out to us. Could you do both sessions on the same day? You sure could. Yeah, that's an interesting idea. But if you wanted to if your youth group met, weekly for an hour, but you wanted to make, like every quarter, have an immersion, have a longer day where you did the session in the morning, the formational part, and then the second session in that same morning or afternoon, have a lunch in there. Yeah, you bet. Have a longer day. That would work. Yeah, you bet. I still aspire to pull up a session here, so I'm going to try one more route in my file. Because I want to be able to answer your question better, and the best way I can answer it is to pull up a session. This is where I should have put the other disclaimer, which is I wrote many of these at the beginning of the year, and in this time of COVID, I don't know about all of you, but I can't hardly remember yesterday. So So I apologize if the content is not readily coming to me. Somebody started to ask a question.
Tony.
Yeah, it's me, Susie. Tony.
Hi, Tony.
Hi, everybody. I'm Tony, and I live in Los Angeles. Did you record this Zoom session?
Yes, this session is recorded. Mm-hmm.
So it'd be available to other people that are asking about it?
Yes, it actually would. Yeah. So, this probably isn't one of the most compelling, but I at least want to show you something that's topical beyond that kindness during COVID. And that is this. I'm going to share my screen here. So this is a session on homelessness. And again, you'll see the same framework here. There's a prayer. There's always a scripture verse. Alicia Keys, she's my go-to for issues. Like I type in the issue and then Alicia Keys and a song comes up. It's amazing. It's actually not that easy. but I wish it was. There's a video on homeless teens again. But then the youth spend, here's an activity. This is one that you would need to send out to them separately. They spend 10 minutes looking at a word cloud, and this word cloud has all of the sort of the stereotypes about people who are homeless, and then actual characteristics of people who are homeless. And so just some reflection on those word clouds. And then there's some reflection questions here. You can see the video in the Changing the World, faith leaders on Los Angeles homeless crisis. But the Changing the World session here, spend the next 5 to 10 minutes discussing how the youth might respond to homelessness personally or as a group. If you're doing session 2, invite the youth to name an organization that serves the homeless that they would like to learn more about as an individual. Or learn more about, or an individual that they would be interested in hearing from. So this one is one example. I'm going to pull up another one since I'm having luck here. Let me see. Trying to get I think I want to pull up for you the hunger one, because that might be the most to answer your question a little bit better, Maurice. Okay, I'll show this one more time here. Oh, that's homelessness. No, I wanted hunger. I thought I had the hunger one. Ah, here we go. So here's the hunger one again. Prayer, song, video, the interactive map where you can locate food poverty in your county. Another video, this one features Shane Claiborne. And then here is Changing the World activity, a student's guide to start a food rescue program. After reading the guide about starting a food rescue program in your school is something you would be interested in doing as a group. If not, do you have another idea how your group can reduce hunger in your community? You know, so What it doesn't say explicitly, and maybe this is getting back to a question that Teresa had, you know, one of the one of the big no-nos is to try to solve a problem without visiting with the people who are affected by the problem, right? That's a curse. I'm a former food pantry manager too, and we had regularly people coming and giving us stuff that was of no use to our clients. And so that's really part of the reason for the immersion and the guest speaker, because it's meant to head off some of that, where they can actually hear from folks who run these organizations about what is needed versus assuming what's needed and then, you know, showing up with something that may not be helpful. So the immersive part of that, although it's not explicit, I didn't write in there, you know, this is don't assume what people need. I didn't write in there, and maybe maybe that's something that I will aspire to do, is go back and be more explicit about that piece. But
hi, Cynthia, and in this video.
What's that? I thought I heard somebody had a question. Somebody, Mary, thank you. It's called COVID brain. Thank you, Mary. I was wondering, you know, I thought it was old age, but Mary thank you, Mary. I feel better about myself. The pricing is per group. I would say the pricing is per church. You know, I mean, order the topic, use it in your church for 12 months, however you want to use that. If you have 3 different levels of confirmation students, use it. Yeah, so that's per church.
Could you show us what one of the immersion sessions looks like, or is that?
Oh, sure. Yeah. They're just a little bit less exciting because there's not as much in them, but
that's okay.
Yeah, I will absolutely pull one up here. While I'm looking for mine, I thought I would give you just a little bit of a taste of. I would recommend, if you haven't downloaded that Kindness with COVID session, download it by all means. But also, while I'm looking for another file here, I want to, you know, just give you an example of some of the music and where I really tried to get more youth-centric with the program. So I'm going to entertain you here with the beginning of a song. This isn't a contemporary artist, but you might enjoy this while I'm stalling so I can pull up an immersion session. And many of you will recognize this song. How's the volume? Volume is bad? Okay.
Lord, hear the cry of the poor. Blessed be the Lord. The Lord hears
hopefully you could hear that. All right. So here is the second session of the program focused on the environment here. And again, there's just a little directive that this is meant to follow the first one. The same prayer, again, for consistency. I don't use an opening prayer because you want to give more time to the guest speaker or the immersion. But here's an example. Invite a guest speaker from a local environmental agency, and there's a litany of different people that you could invite to speak on the issue in the environment. And invite an individual who's personally committed to environmental stewardship. And what does that look like? Visit a local recycling center and have someone give you a tour, or visit your local watershed and invite someone from your public works office. Go to an Earth Day rally if you're doing this, around an Earth-centric day. This debrief is the same in every single session. So there's this 30-minute debrief. What was moving? What is one thing that you'll do differently? And what is one thing you do differently one thing will you do differently in a community-based, in your community based on this? Yeah. And then a closing prayer again. So, did that help? Is this program available for Canada? It's delivered once you order the program. The document is sent as a link in an autoresponder that you get after you register. So I guess the answer would be yes. You just simply download it from that email. There's no mailing of packets or anything like that. It's sent to you as an attachment.
Susie, for any of these programs, are there additional text or anything like for some of the other Just Faith programs?
No, in fact, many of you will be familiar with a program that we had, a youth-centric program that we had years ago. It was called Jaywalking. In fact, Abby, ran so many groups. But one of the primary, difficulties, if you will, with the jaywalking program is I did that program with our youth as well, and we just couldn't get them to do the reading. I mean, there might be a Hardy too that would do the reading, but most of them would not do the reading. And so I intentionally stayed away from expecting the youth, because my experience is the youth are busy. Some of the youth are busier than I am, and it's like to try to give them any kind of homework assignment in between. It never worked for any of my groups, and so I didn't build it into this. Yeah. Any other questions? I've not had to answer questions. This is the first time I've had to answer questions about this program. So I did review a lot of the sessions tonight just to get it in my memory again. But your question?
I have one more, Teresa. For those of us that are really compelled, to be passing on the best kept secret of the Catholic Church, which is Catholic social teachings, there really hasn't been a program that I've come across in my 30 years that interfaces that. Is there any way that that could be fleshed out a little bit in this? Not that, because I like the ecumenical spirit of it. I love that. But I'm just thinking in terms of those of us who really want to see that, the Catholic faith offers that roadmap that is powerful, and to make it come alive and make it matter, make it real, make it full of substance. Is there any addendum or anything that can kind of be overlaid to explore any of that, or not?
Yeah, sure. And just so, if you are a member of a Catholic church, just know that we collaborate with CCHD. We collaborate with the Justice, Peace, Human Development Office. In fact, Jill Rao at the Justice, Peace, Human Development Office of the U.S. Bishops has been, incredibly helpful with an updated version that we're doing with our Just Faith Catholic program right now. And so we definitely collaborate. One of the things that we struggle with, Teresa, is capacity. And it's like, it took enough time to put together the Christian-based program, and then another layer to it to make them all that Catholic social teaching explicit, which I could certainly do. Again, for those of you that don't know me, I've been in the Episcopal Church for a number of years, but one of my expertise when I was in the Catholic Church was Catholic social teaching, and I used to do presentations and workshops all over the Catholic Diocese of Iowa on Catholic social teaching and the Church's justice tradition. So am I equipped to do it? Yeah. Do we have the capacity right now? That's a whole other question. Could we build that into a work plan? If that's a desire of a lot of folks, then yes. There's a possibility. I can't make any promises right now, but there is a possibility of being able to do that, and especially with the support of JPHD and CCHD and CRS.
Yeah, and here I am, the ecumenical queen, actually interfaith. So I've been pushing things to go that way. I just thought if maybe there was an overlay that could be offered, that maybe we could figure out how to do that. That it isn't that it's coming from a Catholic perspective, but that it just adds the dimension of Catholic social teaching being, informed to inform some of this. So you're right. I think it could be thought out, Susie, in such a way that it might not be as complicated as what we're talking about. And I don't want to give you anything else to do. I'm processing out loud. Thanks.
Yeah. But it's definitely something to consider. And we do have a very large Catholic audience. So
I would think that if whoever's facilitating the program, it would be somebody, if it's like I'm Catholic, I do have a background in Catholic social teaching, that it would be very easy to just, as soon as we're going through the program, we're going to identify which themes, dignity of human life, care for God's creation, all of those are going to jump out, and we give voice to it in every session, I think is the way to do it.
Now, that might be something, in the way of, if that was something that was of interest to people, I could, put the theme of social teaching that goes with every topic, and some quotes and some explicit.
I think that'd be plenty, Susie. Just an addendum that helps those that take it on, because facilitators don't like to feel like they're ill-equipped. Just an added maybe resource. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I used your program in the past for Catholic Youth Group. That was the jaywalking. And I was able to easily put Catholic social teaching into it. Yeah. It's not difficult. The program has the activities, the basics, and then you just kind of massage it to put in the program as a Catholic program. It's not difficult at all.
Especially with young people, because when you just use that theme-based approach, the 8 to 10 different themes, whatever, it just makes it a lot easier. They don't have to know every document and every source of every theme. You can, I've done a course before for confirmation class, and I show them all the books. I say, everything I'm going to teach you tonight is coming from these books, but you don't have to read them. I'm going to narrow it down to this. So it's much easier with youth. I think adults are more like, well, where did we get that teaching? And,
Yeah. Yeah, and there are actually video resources on all the themes, you know, but it would be fairly easy to put together a, you know, a half sheet of supplemental or information that could be, you know, swapped in and out on Catholic social teaching or supplemental. Yeah.
I guess I was just suggesting a one-page sheet that would be an addendum, so those themes could constantly be kind of there as a reminder that run through every subject matter that you pick up for those that want to be making it come alive, just to make it, you know, intersecting within the program that we're offering for those that want it. Thanks so much for all the help on that, because I too have been teaching it all my life.
Susie, just real quick. So there's a couple of, maybe one thing you could do is leadership guide for Catholic social teaching that was written by Steve Kolecki on the USCCB. I don't know if it's in print anymore, but even if you just say this is one resource you can go to and use it because it has a scripture and this, you know, all this stuff, and that way you, that would be less on you. But also CRS just came out with, and you probably saw this, but it's the CRS 101, CST 101. Yeah, so if anyone wants to, you could just refer them there.
Yeah, so. CRS has a Catholic Social Teaching 101 video series, and they have a video on, a 3 to 5 minute video on every theme of Catholic social teaching. And in fact, in one session, I can't remember which one, I have the option between a video that's more ecumenically centric and one of those 101 videos in one of the sessions. I can't remember which one right now, but maybe global poverty.
And even, I mean, even as a precursor to doing this program, you could just do a night on the themes of Catholic social teaching and then incorporate into every session, okay, who can pick which themes this applies to? And, you know, we might think, oh, it's this, this, and this, and somebody's going to pick up on something else that maybe we didn't even think of, and that comes from the youth themselves because they've already learned the themes prior to taking the course. But we did CST 101 in our parish. The deacon and I did it with adults, and it was, you know, it was good. It's a good program.
Any other, let me think about what that might look like and how it might work with sessions for those of you that represent Catholic churches. Any other questions that folks have?
If we're not currently subscribed right now, we had, and then we didn't get a program off the ground and we would need to do it again. Can I see the pricing that you were laying out earlier, or do I have to have resubscribe our church?
Oh, yeah. No, you don't have to. And if you need an extension on anything, I'm going to put the link to the page where all of this resides in the chat here. And please copy and paste it. This will take you directly to the program page. And the pricing's on there, and you know, anywhere it says learn more, just click on it and it will, you know, it'll flip over and give you more information as well.
It's not letting me do that.
Oh, it's not letting you copy and paste. Some people can actually click on it in the chat, and other people have to copy and paste it somewhere.
I can do that. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Folks, too, as a, you know, the last thing that I would just offer, and again, I'm going to put this in the chat here, although it's not too hard to remember this. If you're like me and you think of 6 questions after you get off the call tonight, and you go, oh, damn it, I was going to ask that. My email is susie@justfaith.org. Just email me. And I'm happy to, you know, do my best to answer questions. I think it's going to be a program that is interesting to youth, but also compelling. Anyway, that's my hope. Well, thanks everybody, and thanks for all you do. Youth ministry is no small commitment. I remember my years in it, and I'm sure many of your names I recognize, and I know you're just doing amazing things. So thanks for what you do, and we will be in touch. All right, everybody, take care. Have a good night.